Hi, I'm Tricia Morris from Club Scrap, and welcome to the Chest of Drawers workshop. I'm teaching this workshop on behalf of Terri Zwicker, who designed this awesome project. She was looking for a project that she could do at home with stuff that she had on hand, 12 by 12 papers, smaller pieces of bookboard, and she wanted that project to be practical and useful, just like Terri Zwicker, practical, useful girl. So she designed some beautiful 12 by 12 text weight prints for us for this class, and also made this beautiful structure, chest of drawers. It has a little project tray on the top that you can just load with whatever you need and take it to where you need to be. And then this little chest of drawers here, the drawers are actually little trays with tiny compartments in where you can store all of your little embellishments. And who doesn't lack for those? Anyway, I think it's time we should get started. You'll see right away in your project kit that you have a ton of pieces of this heavyweight bookboard and varying sizes. Now, if you look at where we're headed, this smaller square piece, if you were to stack them, this squarish piece is the back wall of our cabinet, of our chest of drawers. And then you have these other pieces that are the same. There are 5 the same. One of these pieces, plus the tall skinny pieces of bookboard, that will make that project tray that we can remove. And the other 4 pieces we'll set aside right now, and this would be the sidewalls of that cabinet. So what we need to do first is take this for a test drive, because we want to make sure all the walls of our tray fit properly. And what we've been finding is that when they trim this huge piece of bookboard into smaller pieces, the smaller the pieces become, the more difficult the accuracy is. So what we've been finding is that if I were to lay this long sidewall onto the base of the tray, and then place this short wall next to it, I still need enough room to perch my long wall on top of the tray on this side, and I'm a little bit short of room. So what I need to do, if this is the case for you, is remove a little section of this short wall in order to accommodate enough space for this tray wall to fit on here properly. So here's what we gotta do. I'm going to be using a ruler, craft knife, cutting mat, and I'm going to take off about 1/8 of an inch. I think that's going to pretty much do it. So if you're using a craft knife and bookboard, as Kay Williamson always says, a mere 16 passes will get you right through it, no problem. So if you have the ruler in place and you just start, and this is useful just to know in general, if you buy bookboard from us, from the store, you can purchase it in, oh, look at what, 4 passes, no big deal. All right, now I'm going to take a second test drive. But if you buy bookboard and you want to make something, you have to know how to cut it, and that's how it's done. All right, let's take a little test drive here again. And now it's fitting there perfectly. If you are a little unsure about like how I can see my cut is angling off here a little bit that I made, you can use a piece of sandpaper, place it on your work surface, and just flatten out that surface a little bit. I'm pretty happy with that. Edges. Okay, then you repeat the same exercise for the other short wall. Next, we're going to do some preparatory work with some painting. It's always a good way to start things, and that way the paint can dry while we're working on other things. So let's take away the tray base. That was the piece we were just working with. And from that other stack, we have that one odd squarish piece. Get rid of that. And we're going to do a really awesome little shortcut for painting these walls. Let's just hold the entire stack of the remaining 4 pieces of these walls together. We're going to paint the short edges of this stack. So it doesn't take much, really. I mean, if you stack them all at once and you just do it, this is quick. And on our supplies list, we listed gloves, optional. I really don't care so much about my manicure because I don't get them. Okay, now we have these sidewalls. Same drill, but this time we're going to paint those long edges. Okay, set those aside. And then one other thing we can paint will be our set of 4 wooden feet. do that, I'm gonna use the back of my instruction sheet. Oh, I don't know if you noticed this, but on your instructions, there's an extra page that Terri had me do up. It just has 3 steps. Number 1, listen carefully to your instructor. Number 2, do exactly as she says. And number 3, you'll be fine. All right, so these wooden feet, we'll just paint the bottom. Okay, I am gonna get a little prissy about my hands here at this point. I already have paint all over them. I don't know what difference it makes. Okay. So keep in mind that we're really working on 2 projects at once. We have the tray, we have the box. Each one requires similar steps, not to happen simultaneously. So in order to be efficient, we're just gonna flip-flop back and forth from doing different things. So glue can dry and paint can dry, and yeah. So what we're gonna do is, there are 4 total 12 by 12 craft weight or text weight craft prints in your kit. You can just choose one of them. Any old one, does not matter. I'm choosing this one. All right, I'm using our new Fiskars trimmer. Love this thing. Okay, it's just like ALSB, efficient scrapbooking here. We're trimming at 9.5 and 7. Does it matter how the print is inserted into the trimmer? No. So 9.5 and 7. Done. Okay, set these pieces aside. Then we'll take another print. Does not matter which one. I'm going to choose the other one, and it does not matter which way I insert it into the trimmer. It's just how it was designed to have that flexibility. Okay, the measurements for trimming here are 11 3/4. 11 3/4. So it's going to take off a tiny, tiny little piece. I think this might be a scrap. Pretty sure it is. And then 7. Okay. Now take this 7 by 12, rotate it horizontally, and cut it at 9. And then you have this other piece that remains, this other 12-inch long one. Rotate this one horizontally and cut it at 11 1/4. It's a scrap. And 6 1/4. Ta-da! Okay, we're on now page 2 of the instructions, and I think that's it for the trimming. All right, now we have 2 remaining 12 by 12 craft prints, so I'm taking one of them. Doesn't matter which one. Put it plain side up on your work surface. Remember painting the edges of those walls? So take the painted edges, and let's just dry fit this, and place them on the edge of the paper. Like, it'll be flush in the corner, okay? And there's a little diagram in your instructions that will really point this out. And the painted edge is aligned with the edge of the paper, so it's just gonna save us a little time. So my painted edge is facing me now as I place it down onto this corner. And the painted edge face this side in this corner. And painted edge facing you over on this corner. So we're automatically going to accomplish a couple of things. And now that I've got this dry fitted and I know it's where everything's gonna go, I'll start with some adhesive and just don't paint it on, just brush it on. So this should not take a long time. You want to make sure all of the edges are thoroughly covered so that this looks great in the end. If you need more adhesive, I can see maybe I could use a tad more, especially because I'm starting with a dry brush for my first moment of gluing. Okay, everything is covered, but nothing's dripping. I'll place it right back onto this paper so that the edges are perfectly aligned. And then go around and do the same for all the 3 remaining pieces. After you get everything glued into place, just flip the whole works over and use your bone folder to burnish any air pockets or anything from the inside to the outside edges. And you can set that aside to let the moisture evaporate. And then take the other 12 by 12 piece that you have remaining and the remaining base. This is your project base. Place that on here. Again, we're dry running this. And then remember we painted those side walls. So one of the short walls, just lay that on there and go facing out that way. Then another long wall. You can face out this way. And then another long and short on the other side that will leave you some scrap to work with. So we did our dry run and then do the same exact process. Now what we're doing here, really, just so that you can see into the future a little bit, is the tray, the project tray, has paper covering the outside and the inside. This step is laminating paper onto the inside of the box. It's just a totally different approach to covering something with paper. And I find it very interesting. So as you're working on this, just kind of, it's always nice to know where you're headed. All right, burnish these pieces like you did before. Set this aside. We'll go back to the one that's been drying for a little while. And you're gonna need a cutting mat, and you'll want a nice, sharp craft knife. All right, so we're gonna allow the book board to be our guide, as we don't even need to have a ruler. So just trim the board off of the paper and let the tip of the knife just go along the edge of the board. Make sure you get through. And just always work pulling the blade toward you, and so that you're comfortable. So that's why I'm rotating each time I do one of these edges. Now I want to do this side because I'm bringing the blade toward me. Done. I'm going to do this side. Then we can bring this other piece back in and do the same exact thing. Just remove them from the paper. Now, I know how you are. I want to save this. We're not using it anymore in this class, though. You can save it if you want to. Next, we are going to be planning where our rails are going to go. So when the drawers come in and out of the unit, they need to rest on the rails, okay? So I have two of the walls that we've prepared. Print side up, painted side out, horizontal on my work surface. Print side up, horizontal, paint is on the outside. This is actually going to be the back of the unit. And what we want to do is draw a vertical guideline 1/4 inch from each of these short edges. This would be the unpainted short edge. And it's totally okay to draw on your printed paper. This is going to be at the very back wall of the chest there, so you're not going to see any of this. All right. 2 vertical guidelines, 1/4 inch in from that short edge. Next, if I just level things up here, I need to make a guideline 1 inch down from the top edge. And the idea here is just to create an intersection on which to rest our rails. Okay, so there's the first one. And I'll go down another inch from that, or 2 inches from the top edge. Create another intersection. And then another inch down from that one. And an inch down from that one. Okay. Now I have a spot on which to align my wood rails. So as I install them, I'll use a ruler kind of on the other end just to make sure my lines are nice and level. All right, then we'll adhere our wooden rails so they're sitting right on top of that line. And if we use the ruler at the other end just to kind of make sure we're level, the edge of this will kind of land right in the middle of the inch mark on the ruler. All right, so just temporarily place things where they're going to live. I like to do that before we have glue involved. Everything's ready to go. And what we'll do, this is a tip right from Terri, because we like to do things as quick and easy as we can. Just a line of glue on one of those rails and kiss it the other rail. Now I have 2 ready to glue. So place this. With that amount of glue, we have a little bit of working time to make sure my rail is nice and level. And it's resting on that pencil line, the vertical one. I'll keep going in this row. And then you'll continue working on down until all the rails are attached. All right, with all of our rails attached, we'll set these aside to dry. And we're gonna go back now over to the tray part of the project. So you want to identify the piece of bookboard that has no paint anywhere on it, just the paper. Place it on your work surface, vertically if you want, right side or print side up, because remember I said we were adding the paper to the inside of the box. Remember these walls here have paint on them. We want those to be facing up, painted side up, painted side out. So dry fitting again, making sure everything is where you want it to be. And I'll start with one of these long walls and place glue on that unpainted edge. If you're gluing painted edges, you don't want to do that. So with the bead line, I'll just remove half of it. And then attach this here, print side in. This is so anti-intuitive. Like you will have to fight to remind yourself to keep that print side in. Paint side up. Next, we will attach our other short wall here. And what I always do is study the contact points. I need to put glue on this short edge and on the unpainted bottom edge. See, it's so important to just think it through before you glue. Think it through before you glue. Print side in, painted side up, and then make that corner joint. That will now be very successful because we did take the time to kind of fine-tune that fit at the beginning of class. All right. Print side in, paint side up. So I need adhesive here and here. Don't over apply adhesive here. It just is a real small amount. It's amazing how this Club Scraps bookbinding glue really works well. I love this stuff. I have a gallon. Terri Zwicker has a gallon too. Now this last piece, my contact points are actually the face of this wall and the unpainted bottom edge of the long wall. So it's just always good to test that out before you start putting adhesive on stuff. And this should finish the inside of our tray. And all we have to do is just kind of set this aside and let it cure while we go back to our chest of drawers portion and do the inside of that one. All right, next we're going to be building this, and I've got some prep work here done. So you take one of those walls and you place it paint side out, text print side up. Then the two prepped walls that have the rails on them, those rails are going to run horizontally, and our painted side will match up with this. And when this wall is attached, it will sit on top of this base. After this one is attached, we will then attach the back wall, or glue the back wall, and then the other side wall, and then the top wall. All right, so let's just do this step by step here. Contact point is going to be this long edge with the painted side facing forward. So I'm kind of doing everything backward. It's facing away from me and toward you. I don't know if that's more confusing or more helpful. Huh. Okay, painted sides match up. And I'll just rest this on the edge here. This is a pretty big piece of board. I'm creating a 90-degree angle with it. This is where the performance value of that glue is downright amazing, if you ask me. Okay, now this other squarish piece, test driving, contact points, and L shape, this wall and this wall. This is going to help strengthen and square off that joint a lot. All right, painted sides facing out. Looks like I have contact on this fore edge and on the bottom edge, so I'll even just put a little glue right here. With the three sidewalls in place, I can add at the top. Now, just remember, print side goes inside the box because we'll cover the entire outside of the box with paper as well. So no worries there. We're not going to leave it. We're not going to make you paint it, but we are going to make you wrap it. It may seem a little bit of a weak box right now, but once the outside walls get wrapped, it will really strengthen and be very, very sturdy. One of the things I've always liked about Terri's projects is she's married a construction guy and he makes things work. This is very practical and strong, durable. Okay, let's go back now to the tray project because we got two projects going on here. And you earlier created these two narrow 12-inch strips of paper, and that's what we're going to be using to wrap the outside of the box. And if you think back to where the tray sits on top of the chest of drawers, your face, you want it to be the nicest looking piece in the mix. So that will dictate how we start this whole wrapping process. Any old piece you want, that's the beauty of this print. It does not really, it just blends and seams well together. Seam, S-E-A-M-S, not S-E-E-M-S. Okay, so I'm painting or adding glue to a short wall. Now I will lay this on top of this wrap, slightly off center, with the painted edge aligned with the edge of the paper. This is very different from how we normally wrap things. So normally we draw a guideline and then we wrap the guideline around the top, but this painted edge just keeps it finished. Okay, you may want to then flip it and just burnish a little bit. And then we'll glue down these other pieces. So, you can do this however you want. You can eyeball it or make a little notation and apply glue to the portion of the wall so we can adhere this paper. And then you're just constantly using that top edge of the box as your placement guide. Keep it nice and level. You don't want to start going at an angle around it. Okay, then I'll do the other side. I finished wrapping the first piece of paper and I'll just pick up where I left off with the second piece. Just adding glue, working one section, one flap at a time. And it's always good to place adhesive onto a firm surface within a known area. So I know I need glue on every inch of that area. And you can see now with the way Terri's designed this print, I got a seam right here and it doesn't even matter. Love that. Okay, I'll just keep turning the corner and keep wrapping until it's completely covered. And then that seam at the end, you'll just overlap it. And you can consider that step done. Now we have these little flaps on the base of the box. We got to get rid of those. So we're just going to tack them down, and we're not even going to trim off the corners. We're just going to do this Zwicker style. Major shortcuts here, because we take time where it's needed, not where it's unnecessary. So I have adhesive on both the short flaps. Just like when you wrap a present, you just square off that corner. And this text weight paper, once it has glue on it, nice. Now all I need to do, adhesive here, and then the other short flap and fold it in. All right, now with this base all tucked in, scientific method of determining which piece to use is the one that fits. So guessing by virtue of its shape, that's going to be a perfect fit. Now, always glue your known areas. So in this case, I will apply adhesive to the plain side of this print. And since it's text weight, I like to have a little bit of support. So I'll just lay it on the table with scratch paper to protect my work surface. The only thing that will get gluey is your finger. And then just center that right on there. You should have about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Ta-da! We're switching back now to the cabinet, and we'll just start out on the top because that's our most finished piece that we want to be able to see. So we'll use the same method of aligning our wrap with the edge of the painted edge. So working one wall at a time, I'll apply glue, and then I'll just choose the largest of the two sheets. We didn't need to have two the same size. They're two different sized pieces, but they are the same width. So let's just take another look at this. These are the two pieces. They're the same height, and those will be the ones that go all the way around. I'm trying to decide my best view. I think is going to be from the top down. There we go. Bring it back up and burnish. All right, this is a trick from Terri. When you're creating a seam, if you just align the paper, it'll click. And it falls into place. See the perfect little seam. And again, the paper's so forgiving. And just keep working your way around. Just like we did with the tray, we will square up our corners, tack down those flaps, and then bring up the other ones just like your gift. By virtue of elimination, you can figure out which piece gets attached to the back of the box. And then just center that with a 1/8 inch margin on all sides. Oh, this is just looking so nice. Okay, at this point, do some feet here, and you can do the kiss method again with your adhesive. So if you just squirt a little bit of bookbinding glue on one foot, kiss it with another. I can see I have a little bit of touch-up work to do on my paint job. All right, now it's time to prepare our trays for installation. All right, we have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trays, 5 of these little craft pieces, and 5 narrow black strips. Thank you, Deb Kropidlowski, for so carefully packing all of our class kits. That is a labor of love, let me tell you. I'm folding this in half vertically, like a hot dog. And what this will do is add a decorative element to the top tab of our tray. So your trays are open. You can sandwich this craft piece over the top handle. This is the part of the tray that doesn't have the compartments. And just sandwich it in there. I'll take a stapler and I'll just staple it into place because that seems to be the best way. Now, one thing that we did, and thinking ahead, is that stapler is going to leave, it has a front top and a bottom, right? So now I've got my staples facing up. That's why we gave you these cute little black strips. So you have a finished edge on the bottom of the flap and a finished edge on the top. So you can take your favorite adhesive or your bookbinding glue, whatever you like, and then place that on top of the stapled area. And now you have a nice little pull tab, and you can go ahead and print your labels and label this however you want. Now, once you have all 5 of your trays done in this fashion, you can slide them into the unit. Now, what you'll find is that it's a snug fit. This is a good thing because you may want to take this tray along with you when you go to a crop someday, and then you'll be in the car, and then it'll tip over and fall onto the floor, and all your trays will stay right where they belong. All right, now what you have to keep in mind too is that you're going to have a blast sorting through your entire stash of all of your embellishments, so have fun doing that. And when you're finished making this one and all your friends see it and they want one too, we actually had Terri design a couple of extra types of prints, beautiful prints that coincide with this collection as well. So if you want to make a set of 3 of them, we have all kinds of beautiful papers for you to choose from. So hope you enjoyed Terri's Chest of Drawers project. Have fun making your own.